Here's what's making news now around Indiana. Brought to you by Chapman Heating, Air Conditioning and Plumbing. The man for all seasons, Chapman, chapmanheating.com. Well, new jobs are coming to DeKalb and LaGrange counties as Forest River expands its footprint in northeast Indiana. The full-line manufacturer of RV and commercial vehicles says the expansion will create up to 369 jobs by the end of 2023. The Elkhart-based company will invest $3.5 million to expand its 20-acre campus in Butler and also to enhance production of the XLR toy hauler, the company's newest line. In LaGrange, a $3.5 million expansion will increase manufacturing capacity of its Cherokee RV line. The company expects to break ground on this expansion in October. Forest River employs some 9,500 Indiana workers across 10 Hoosier locations. Well, this week, one of the largest shipments in the 50-year history of the ports of Indiana arrived in Burns Harbor. The port receiving cargo for a $1 billion power plant under construction in Niles, Michigan. According to the ports of Indiana, the largest piece is a 613,000-pound steam recovery system. The Port Authority said the vessel is one of 6 that arrived this summer with components for the project. Construction on that power plant started last August, expected to be operational in 2022. The U.S. Agency for International Development has awarded the University of Notre Dame's Pulte Institute for Global Development $40 million in grant funding. The university says the funding will lead to a 5-year program that aims to strengthen education systems in developing countries. The university's team will work with partners across Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia to implement the program. Notre Dame says the funding is one of the largest federal grants the university has ever received. Well, in the second installment of our series, Endangered Indiana, we take you to what was once a beacon of academic and athletic prowess for the African-American community in Gary. But time has not been kind to Roosevelt High School, with a series of busted pipes last February permanently closing its doors for good. And now city leaders and alumni are trying to save the historic landmark from falling into further disrepair. Around Indiana reporter Mary-Rachel Redman has more from Gary.
City shouldn't let it go. They should never let it go because this is history.
They always told us that we just had to be better than everybody else because we was all black.
Gary, Indiana in the 1920s was a booming city of steel, even nationally recognized for its innovative public schools. But not everyone was welcome in certain classrooms. And when the city attempted to integrate a few black students to its all-white Emerson High School in 1927, it ended in disaster.
White students walked out of Emerson after attempts of integration, and the school corporation, in reaction, decided to build this school, and then it went on to again be a beacon of black excellence in the city of Gary.
Roosevelt High School was built in 1930, and it was one of only 3 all-African-American high schools in the state of Indiana, a source of pride for many residents here in Gary.
So this was our center of culture, and many of the city people that were in positions of authority or let's say influence were Rooseveltians. But this school was always considered a sacred spot.
But this sacred spot has fallen on hard times. A faulty heating system, coupled with a polar vortex in 2019, caused a series of pipes to burst. And it was the final straw that closed the 90-year-old historical building for good.
With the cleanup of the water damage and mold is $8 to $15 million. So that's just to get it back to how it was operating previously.
From the school district's perspective, we're not planning on opening the school for a school district, but I don't see that the school district would ever use it for a school again.
There's that historical aspect of it.
Gary Mayor Jerome Prince is all too familiar with the rich history of Roosevelt. And in an effort to rebuild his city, and perhaps Roosevelt, he's turned to Gary's most famous family of singers for a little help.
I've had at least a few conversations with members of the Jackson family who have a renewed interest in helping to reimagine, as we call it, the city of Gary, which includes at least some desire to help facilitate a renovation on the Roosevelt school site. My primary focus is to rebuild the city.
So is this part of the original structure?
This is the original structure.
This is home to me, you know.
I hate to see it in this condition.
And while the school undoubtedly served as a point of pride for Gary's Black community in its heyday, its strong alumni base is determined to keep the Roosevelt legacy alive for future generations.
We are interested in being involved in whatever happens to the building, that we stand ready to assist them and mainly be some part of the decision making.
To the Gary Roosevelt squad.
Youngsters don't know the history of Roosevelt, and I think they should know about the only black school at that time. It's a place that I always cherish.
Mary-Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.